Taoiseach, I have here a petition which was circulated to every Teachta Dála minister in the House from the workers at Irish Life who are about to take a ballot on strike action over the defined benefit pension scheme. I don't think you've signed the petition yet, Taoiseach, but I hope you will. It's basically asking every Teachta Dála and senator in this House to recognise the absolute injustice that's been done by a company that is solvent, very well off, with a 240 million surplus in the defined benefit scheme, withdrawing from talks and reducing a defined benefit scheme to the mercy of the casino and pushing these 1,000 workers into a defined contribution scheme. Now, we saw recently the turmoil in the stock market, Taoiseach, and I know we've talked a lot. Indeed, this morning we're arguing a lot about the plans that you are making and the plans that the government make to ensure that we all have a good future. But when workers are left to the mercy of the stock market and the gambling casino, it means they don't have any guarantee over a good future. Indeed, they could be paying all their working lives into a pension scheme to find that at the end of it, because of the behaviour of those who gamble, will have no pension at all. Now, we don't want to drive any more people into poverty than already exist in poverty, or workers into worse conditions in this country. So, Taoiseach, I'd like to ask you what you think of companies like Irish Life, who, for the pure greed of making more profits, will withdraw without any discussion from such a scheme, leaving at least 1,000 workers at the mercy of the market. And also, it's very, very significant in the case of Irish Life because they actually administer most of the other pension schemes that exist in this country, and there are over 100,000 workers on defined benefit schemes. They will also feel extremely vulnerable if Irish Life get away with this. So when these workers vote to take strike action and when they stand up for themselves, I hope that you and your Cabinet will support this petition, because this really goes to the heart of who is actually standing up for decent planning in this country, who is really standing up for justice and who is standing up for equality. If we throw these workers to the mercy of the market, then, as I say, more will follow. And I'd like to ask you, Taoiseach, will you condemn Irish Life for unilaterally withdrawing from a defined benefit scheme and forcing these workers to take action against them?
Thanks. I'm afraid, Deputy, I don't know the details of the particular defined benefit pension scheme to which you refer. But you'll know how pensions operate in Ireland, and you'll understand pension law, and it is the trustees of a pension fund that make decisions about the pension fund, not the employer or the members. Ultimately, it's the trustees that make those decisions, subject to the rules laid down by the Pension Authority. And there will be a covenant or a deed of trust which sets out the obligations and rights of the employer and others, and everything falls under trust law in that regard. Trustees have a responsibility. They have a responsibility to pensioners and to future pensioners to make sure that whatever pension fund exists is solvent. We couldn't have a situation whereby people would continue to pay into a pension fund. Some people would get a full pension, but at a certain point the money would run out, and those retiring thereafter, having paid in, would get nothing. That's not a situation that I think would be right or fair. I don't agree that I agree with you that employers should not withdraw unilaterally from any discussions on amendments to a pension fund or resolving a pension fund. We do have mechanisms through the Workplace Relations Commission through which disputes like this can be adjudicated, and that may be an option in this case for it to go to the Workplace Relations Commission and have it resolved there without a strike. And I'm sure you would agree with me that there should not be a strike until the matter has been considered by the Workplace Relations Commission, if that's an option. And also, I think if employers are going to make changes, they should give adequate notice of any changes to the members. Minister Doherty is working on laws to strengthen the protections for members of defined benefit schemes. Work on that is advanced, although it does run into genuine difficulties. And one of the proposals that has been made is to make employers liable for any deficits that may arise in pension schemes. The difficulty in doing that, of course, is you may, as a result of that, put a company out of business, and that would cause unemployment. People might get their pensions, but they would lose their jobs long before they get their pensions. And as well as that, it could hobble other companies and put them at a disadvantage in dealing with their competitors. So these things have overlapping issues which all need to be seen in the round.
fact that Minister Regina Doherty has got legislation before the House on this issue does indicate a concern by yourself and the Cabinet that defined benefit schemes are being recklessly treated by employers in this country. In the past, AIB, Aer Lingus, British Telecom have all moved unilaterally away from defined benefit schemes, and that's why there are other pieces of legislation from various parties around the House to try and control reckless companies, when the pension is not in trouble, who move away from defined benefit and try to bring workers' rights down by pushing them into defined contribution. Workers have also paid €20 million into the Pensions Board in order to get the Pensions Board to protect their rights and their future pensions. What does this mean, Taoiseach, that they're not being protected? And I would finally like to ask yourself, when are we going to see the legislation before the House so that we can amend it and make it more robust? And would it not be prudent, in the meantime, for you or the Minister for Social Protection to call on Irish Life to desist from moving away from defined benefit until we publish and have a chance to discuss proper legislation to control these reckless profit-making companies?
Thank you, Deputy Taoiseach, to conclude on this matter.
As I say, Mr Doherty is very advanced in producing legislation in this area in the form of amendments to the existing Social Welfare and Pension Act, which is before the Houses, and that would require employers to give adequate notice. It would establish a dispute solving mechanism, if you like, perhaps involving the Pensions Authority. But we do need to bear in mind the enormous risks that could arise from employer liability, from making employers legally responsible for any deficit in a pension fund, and that could result in the loss of jobs if it made the company insolvent or imposed big losses on the company, or in other cases it could hobble companies. Companies, for example, that have big investment plans, and you referred to investment plans, might find that they can't do those investment plans anymore if their balance sheet is fundamentally changed from being one that's able to borrow to invest to one that is not, because a pension liability is put on its balance sheet. And we need to bear all those things in mind. We always debate two laws in this House, the law in front of us and the law of unintended consequences, and we need to make sure we get it right.